Part 1. The House on Elder Street. On a foggy winter evening, a 13-year-old girl named Mira stood quietly at the gate of a crumbling old house on Elder Street. Her fingers trembled as she clutched a yellow envelope addressed only with 2 words, to grandfather. Her parents had never spoken much about her grandfather. All she knew was that he had lived in this house alone for many years, far from the family. But now her mother had given her this letter and whispered, "Deliver it yourself. Don't open it. Just make sure he reads it." The house looked empty. The iron gate creaked loudly as Mira pushed it open. The garden was overgrown with wild grass, and the windows were thick with dust. But as she walked up the steps, she saw a flicker of light behind the curtains. She knocked. No one answered. She knocked again. A voice, old and gravelly, shouted from inside. "Who is it?" Mira's heart jumped. "It's Mira, your granddaughter. I have a letter from Mama." There was a long silence. Then, slowly, the door creaked open. Part 2. Grandfather, the man who opened the door, looked more like a ghost than a human. His eyes were sunken, his beard long and white, and his back slightly bent. He stared at Mira as if trying to remember a forgotten dream. "From Reka?" he asked softly, naming Mira's mother. "Yes," Mira said, handing over the envelope. He took it without another word and walked inside. Mira hesitated, then stepped in too. The house smelled like old books and rain-soaked wood. Every wall was lined with shelves, and each shelf was packed with dusty boxes, clocks, and framed photos turned face down. He sat in an old chair and opened the letter slowly. Mira watched his eyes move across the paper, then stop. He froze, and then tears. Silent, steady tears rolled down his cheeks. Mira stood silently. Then he looked up. "She remembers," he whispered. "She forgives me." Part 3. The Secret Room. After a long silence, her grandfather spoke again. "Do you want to know what happened, Mira? Why I stayed away?" She nodded. He sighed deeply. "Long ago, I did something that broke our family apart. It wasn't a crime, not in the eyes of the law, but it hurt the people I loved the most." He got up and walked slowly to a bookshelf. With trembling hands, he removed 3 books from the shelf. Behind them was a hidden keyhole. Mira's eyes widened as he took out a small brass key from his neck and unlocked it. The shelf opened into a hidden room. "Come," he said. Inside was a small study covered in dust. On the table was a locked metal box. He opened it, and inside were photographs of a woman, a man, and a little girl. "That's your grandmother, and your mother when she was little." He showed her a photograph of a beautiful woman holding a violin. She was a famous musician. "And he paused, voice breaking. I was jealous." Part 4. The mistake her grandfather looked down. "Your grandmother's music took her away from us. I felt like she loved the violin more than me, more than Reka. One night, we had a terrible fight. I told her to choose her music or her family. What did she choose?" Mira asked, her voice barely a whisper. She said she couldn't live without either. But I gave her no choice. He pulled out an old newspaper article. The headline read, "Famous violinist dies in road accident." That night, she left the house crying and never came back. Her taxi crashed. Mira felt her throat tighten. Her grandfather continued, "Your mother saw it all. She never forgave me. I never forgave myself." Part 5. The midnight visitor. That night, Mira stayed at the house. Her mother had told her to. At midnight, she woke up to a strange sound, music. A soft, Sad violin melody drifted down the hallway. She got up and followed it, heart pounding. It led her to the study. The door was slightly open. Inside, her grandfather was asleep on the couch, but the violin music was still playing. There was no one else in the room. The melody grew louder, more sorrowful, then suddenly stopped. Mira whispered, "Grandma." A cold breeze passed through her. She closed the door. Part 6. The envelope the next morning. Her grandfather was quiet. "I dreamed of her," he said. She was playing the same song she always used to. It was her way of saying goodbye. Mira handed him the letter again. "Did Mama write anything else?" He shook his head. "Just a few lines." He pulled it out again and read aloud, "Papa, I kept my silence all these years. But I realized silence is not forgiveness, nor is it healing. I don't want Mira to grow up with a hole in her heart like I did. If you're still the man who loved us once, write back. Reka." He folded the letter and smiled. "I will write back." Part 7. The return weeks passed. Mira's mother finally visited the house with her. The meeting was quiet at first, no loud tears or shouting. But then her mother reached out and held her father's hand. That was enough. The family began healing. Part 8. One final letter 1 year later, Mira received another letter in the same yellow envelope. This time, it was from her grandfather. But this one came through the mail. It read, "Dear Mira, thank you for knocking on that door. You brought music back into my silent world. You helped me make peace before time took me away. I am leaving the violin to you, not as a burden of the past, but as a bridge to beauty, to forgiveness, to love. Keep playing even when life is silent." With love, grandfather, tears streamed down Mira's face. She held the violin in her arms and began to play. The same soft, sorrowful tune, but now it sounded peaceful. Moral of the story: forgiveness does not change the past, but it changes the future. Holding onto guilt and pain can break generations. But one act of courage, delivering a letter, offering a hand, playing a song, can begin the healing.